Yeah, until the second beer kicks in and you're like, fuck this.
No,
and
I've
you just,
had
then you
four.
just take
It's
your
like,
top off and you dance and we record it for hours, like as long as it goes.
I mean, everyone would like that. Let's get some YouTube views. Speaking of YouTube views, what are we? Start this fucker off.
Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm Ben. I'm joined by Adam.
Hey, I thought you were going to say craft beer, so when I was mouthing, such that people might not be able to tell which face was doing it, I made a mistake because I said craft and you said beer. Also, need to remember to look up to the camera, which is now up, because otherwise I look sort of like submissive.
Down constantly. Like I just like no eye contact, please.
This is a subcast.
We're also joined by Lucy.
Hello.
Hey, definitely not a member of the subcast. You're all about fucking domination, mate. I don't fucking know.
So we started like this.
I mean,
super sexy. Super sexy.
That's sexy from Krypton for you in the back seats.
It's actually a really bad place for us to start. Because I was gonna open the episode up by saying Twitter has been an absolute shitstorm the last couple of days,
decades.
And, well, absolutely fucking decades. But that we clearly tanked up stands with everybody who's brave enough to come forward with their experiences, sharing things. We're not going to go into it. Things are sort of stories to tell, discussions that we don't need to have, but. If you're going to be a shithead, we're going to call you out as well. So don't be a shithead.
Yeah, I was just saying it's not our stories to tell, but I think we do want to make a stand and say that we're behind the people who are being brave enough to share their stories, encouraging people to actually seek them out to figure out how toxic some people are, and this is not a historic thing. I think it's important to note that this is continuously happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are always here for support if anyone ever wants to lean on us.
Yes, absolutely.
Strong.
Echo those feelings. Yes.
I'll be your friend.
Don't be an arsehole.
Carry on.
Simple as. It's not that hard.
Absolutely.
People make out it's the hardest thing in the world not to be a prick. But...
I mean, we manage it. We manage to be a prick almost every episode, don't we? Some of us.
It's true.
And by some of us, I do mean
don't intend to do it, though.
Says white boy with a beard. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, there's nothing I can do about that apart from shave. Let's drink some beers. Aadil, what are you kicking off with?
I am gonna start with the Aqualung. It's any PA?
What?
Northeastern Pale Ale? Is that the right acronym? The Northeast?
What? New England.
New England, that's right. I'm like, I know, it's not a cardinal direction. I'm saying the wrong thing.
Or Northeast.
It is 5.2%, 440 mil, 2.3 units with IBU 20. It is got it's from Stewart Brewing, Nelson Sauvin, Mosaic, and Galaxy hops. It's from Edinburgh. Project 7 is our series of limited edition beers, exploring exciting and innovative styles. That's all they want to say. It's the Aqualung.
I've not heard of Stewart Brewing before. Have you, Lucy?
So
is it Stewart with a EW or with a
EW?
EW.
Yeah.
Where are they Scottish?
I just spotted them in the bottle shop and it was like, I don't know you.
Where are they from?
Yeah.
Are they Scotland?
Edinburgh.
Yeah, I'm sure I've come across them. Maybe in bottle form.
Their short
Really
amount of
pretty
tasting
can,
notes are juicy, tropical, soft, and complex.
Nice. Good. Lucy, you having a week off the booze?
Yeah, I have no beer. It's not a matter of sobriety, it's a matter of I haven't been to the beer shop. So,
I mean, that
Which is
happens.
fair. You're a busy working woman these days.
I know. Working the streets.
Oh shit!
Maybe we have gone back to my first comment.
Oh dear.
Yes. How was that measuring jug? Is it good?
Yeah, as
Full of
always,
water.
my trusty old friend. Yeah,
Good. What is
Never
he
let me
doing?
down.
Where is he going with this camera?
he's
I'm making it better. Slightly.
Okay.
Nope.
Right, whilst he's doing that, I am going to drink the much talked about collaboration Tesco beer from Brewdog and Cloudwater, a New England IPA. Like
also
you,
a
Lucy.
NEPA, but also
yes. Like
Also,
Lucy,
you knew
I
what it
didn't.
meant.
I didn't go to the bottle shop either. I have had no time. So I'm drinking a couple of Tesco beers this week, both collaborations, and this first one is 6.8%. There is a little bit of flavour text. There's quite a lot of flavour text, actually. New England meets old in this hopped-up superpower of a beer. Our returned juicy IPA packs more fruit than the state of Florida. As misty as New England in the fall, US hops unite for a big all-American juicy, fruity flavour. Tropical fruits on the nose, with notes of a soft, juicy peach, melon, lime, and subtle caramelised pineapple on the palate. Okay, see if I can actually pick that out. Wheat and oats layer for a super smooth delivery, and finish it's dry and hoppy. New England IPA, juiced up and ready to roll. And they just say about Cloudwater and Brewdog on there as well.
Yeah. The thing about my local Tesco is I think that the beer selection's getting even smaller. So.
I mean, it's not a collaboration. I mean, it makes sense in hindsight, but it wouldn't be one I predicted.
No, I think it was when it was first announced. I think everyone was very surprised for Cloudwater to be in the supermarket, considering they're super hot on like cold chain, and all of these cans are going to sit on room temperature shelves essentially.
Right.
So I think I saw Paul. He actually started chatting in one of the craft beer supermarket beer groups, basically just eliciting people's opinions on, you know, bottle shop versus supermarket, you know, what their share is and things, and how, you know, things like he wanted accessibility and things like that with some of their beers. So it makes sense for them to team up with someone like Brewdog to test those waters a little bit. And I think they've done this beer collaboration before, but maybe a slightly different brew, perhaps.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna drink this one. Aadil, we'll come back to you.
Oh, yeah. So it turns out,
Stewart.
problem is, I poured it like an asshole.
No.
It's quite heady. The nose is sort of tropical fruity. I'm just gonna have to take a bigger swig to get through this awful pour that I did. Although it is a testament to the carbonation.
It looks super light. Very straw and.
It's like a straw color, but it's also quite opaque. Like you can see, my finger doesn't quite show anything. Yeah, it's not in your face. It's again got light tropical fruits, a very minute citrus, but not a lot. I'm thinking like a sweet citrus, like not quite a mandarin, but like maybe a tangerine, like just a little undernote of that. Yeah, it's really light. It's delicate. It's not muddled. Like it's not just sort of light IPA. It's got some nuance there, but it is quite sort of. You could easily start swigging this back because it's not as in your face as maybe some other IPAs you might be expecting. But it's definitely not because there isn't taste there. It's just more delicate than your average.
Yeah.
NEPA.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Nice. So a soft NEPA to start.
Yeah. So I will say that their notes are juicy, tropical, soft, and complex. Definitely soft. Definitely a little tropical. I actually don't get a lot of juice off of it, and the complexity isn't something I would highlight, except that its softness isn't weakness. If that makes sense. Like it's not just sort of light flavors, but that having soft flavors doesn't immediately make it. Like I think there's not as many things going on for something that's bragging about being complex.
Okay.
Still tasty, but just sort of one of the off the tin notes that I don't quite feel.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Cool. So the other Nipah then of now.
Is this a hard Nipah? We had a soft Nipah.
I mean, again, this does say it's juiced up, so definitely get that on the nose. You're getting the sort of that mix where it's hard to kind of discern exactly what it is. You know, there is tropical fruit, there is a little bit of citrus, there is a little bit of stone fruit. Obviously, it tells me on the back what those are. I think getting mostly melon from it. Super sort of juicy. I can try and get it close to the light. It's super sort of orange in colour, at least, like right under the light, and very, very opaque. The head kind of dissipated quite quickly on there, so there's almost nothing left at the moment.
Yeah, it's like a diametric opposite from the head off of this Nipah, which is even with a light sort of last third pour, I'm still getting that.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel less bad about the original. This that gets one of them beers.
Yeah. Did it sit in a bag for a while, bouncing up and down?
No, it's been sitting in my fridge for over a week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it wasn't shaken up. I'm super surprised because, like, normally it should be like, even if it's super peppy, it's been sitting for long enough that I kind of feel like I've done it justice, but I haven't, and yet it's still sort of overtly carbonated.
Well, strangely enough, this Cloudwater Brewdog collaboration in the taste and in the mouthfeel is really carbonated. I'm getting a lot of carbonation and almost this bitterness coming straight off the front along with that carbonation as well. I mean, it doesn't look sort of super carbonated to like all sparkle up and stuff, but you feel it as soon as your lips hit the liquid. You can tell that carbonation's there, and it's almost on the edge of a sort of a fizzy soft drink. It's not quite that carbonated, but it's edging towards that, and that bitterness kind of dominates really. There's a little bit of the pineapple coming through. I'm not sure whether it's a caramelized pineapple, but definitely getting a little bit of pineapple through, but not much else going on really. I think that bitterness is just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of masking anything else that's going on with that, you know, alongside that carbonation. It's just kind of stopping anything else really from coming through.
Right. Huh. So it's kind of like a taste wall? Is that fair? Like it's
almost
blocking and it's some of the interesting things?
Yeah, and because it hits you straight away, anything else that's kind of coming through has to sort of, I suppose, be powerful enough to push through that. And
that's a breakthrough.
Nothing really is, and it's only now, sort of as that is fading, the bitterness sticks around a little while. That tingle in the mouth is sticking around as well, but the pineapple is definitely pushing through right on that end, right towards the back of it. Let's see how this is at the end. Whether that kind of, you know, that big carbonation fades a little bit, whether that bitterness mellows very slightly as my palate becomes a little more used to it and things start to push through, perhaps. But first impression.
Oh shit! Sorry, that was me remembering I'm supposed to take a picture before I drink all the beer, but my picture-taking device is not close to me. So, but luckily, I have a long string, otherwise known as a wire.
Okay, you can still hear what we're saying. Yeah. Let's move on to discussing games. Lucy, I thought you and I could kick off. I've been playing a couple of games this week, one of which was Erica, but I don't really want to talk about it because I wrote a review, so everyone could go to outlies.net. It'll only take 2 minutes. It's not very long, 5 minutes to read. So
I thought it was very sweet.
Thank you very much.
What is it, Easter?
Hey, chocolatey, mate.
On me.
Alright.
So if you're not going to talk about Erica, what are you going to talk about, Ben?
I don't know. Kim has just tapped on the window to tell me to read my messages. Do you know where the Kindle charger is? Yeah, it's plugged in down here.
Yep. And I'm just going to stand here advertising a brewery.
Massive. That's fine.
Yeah,
to be honest, twice today, people commented on being fans of the brewery that was on my shirt, which is the Brouwerij, which is the windmill brewery off the Eye River in Amsterdam. And I was quite shocked that more than anyone recognized it. But the lady who served me breakfast was like, "That's a great brewery." I'm like, "Yeah, I used to live like a quick bike ride away." She's like, "It's the one in the windmill, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Cool. Yeah, that's what I thought." And then I can't
live in Bristol where people are like me. Nerdy.
Like I said, I mean, I wear this probably once every week and a half, if not more often, and I've never had anyone comment on it. So having two people being like, and then a guy in the philosophy department was like, "That's a good brewery." I'm like, "Josh, you know this brewery? This is super weird." But yeah, so,
lightning strikes twice.
I was just saying. So I think my new goal is, given that like my T-shirts have slowly been dying, is to replace them with brewery T-shirts from all kinds of places.
Maybe I should
then I'll
do
just be that guy.
Yeah, that seems like a good
brewery
idea.
T-shirt guy.
Hey, that Aadil guy, he's like an alcoholic, right? It's like every shirt is some sort of weird booze. Yeah, that'll be me. Boy.
It's when you upgrade as well. You go through all of your brewery shirts and you get to suddenly like the distillery shirts, and you move on to sort of all of the different rum distilleries.
I was just like, no, I mean, if I ever wear a wine, something's up. It's not that I don't like wines, but winery shirts are not exactly are few and far between, to say the least.
Yeah, that sounds way more sad.
Rotation.
Definitely sought after.
Brewery T-shirts, that's fine.
But I do think next time I come to Birmingham, I'm gonna have to pick up a shirt.
I can
from one of the
buy you one and send you one there, and just tell me your size.
Men's small.
Okay. Yeah, I know Burning Soul definitely. They had some hanging up last time I was there.
There's a thing I meant to do when I was in Calgary last, because there's all these weird microbreweries, and I was like, I should represent breweries that no one's heard of ever on this side of the pond, just for funsies. And then I forgot about it. Although I did win a silly cap, like a flat.
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah.
And then I forgot it at my parents' house. But I think that's my new thing. It'll be like wear brewery swag where there's no chance in hell anyone's heard of it, or even if they wanted to be like, well, I saw a guy wearing that, well, I should check it out. They literally can't. Like, I think that's going to be my new moves.
Yeah, really obscure.
Yeah, I remember that cap I got from the Bristol Brewery Festival. Because with my ticket, I think you got a free.
Oh yes, yeah.
T-shirt. Yeah, I've never worn those because it just says beer.
Wasn't it? It's that one, isn't it? It's just that. It's just the beer logo. Just the beer logo on the. Yeah.
And it's like I can't even wear these like ironically.
No. I mean, my goal would be to teach one entire semester where one of my sessions I've worn a different booze shirt every block. So it's like every seminar, it's like, have you noticed that guy's just wearing different booze stuff? I think our tutor's an alcoholic.
You should wear some rolled up trousers with then like little martini glasses on your socks or something like that as well. So you can really dive deep into the booze wear.
I definitely roll up my trousers again. So I'm offended by this already, but I don't have socks.
I think the next time you wear that particular T-shirt, you should also wear clogs.
I don't have clogs. I wish I had clogs. I don't actually. That sounds like a nightmare. My little toesies. I don't want to do that, Lucy. I get what you're saying. I actually don't value that joke enough.
Yeah, of course, the one.
Which is a shock, because I thought I valued all kinds of jokes, all kinds of ways, but it turns out no. I want comfort in my feet. I'll wear all kinds of stupid socks. I literally have a pair of socks that are just hashtags, so I can say hashtag socks, because they're hashtag socks, hashtag with socks. But I won't wear clogs, it turns out, because I want comfort.
What about Crocs?
Oh, I mean, they're probably comfortable. I've never.
No.
Well, it's only a matter of time. Give it 5 years.
You should both be proud of me that I didn't say I prefer gators, which aren't a thing, but
Well, you
they're
just
a
did.
bad joke.
Well, at least things that we don't know. Maybe there are.
Yeah.
Maybe there are Florida versions of them. So, what the fuck were we going to talk about?
Talk
I mean,
about.
Ben, you
We
said
weren't going
not
to
to
talk about
derail
Erica.
things, and I'm trying my best.
Right, yes,
Not very
yes.
good.
I was
You
gonna
didn't
talk
want
about-
to talk
I
about
wasn't
Erica
going to talk
because
about Erica. I don't want to talk about
eggs.
Exactly. So, the only other game that I've played this week is Bird of Passage, which was a short itch.io game which you shared, Lucy.
Yeah. Did I mention that I finished it to you?
Oh, you did?
Off
Okay.
air?
Yeah,
Okay.
No, you did not mention that to us.
Okay. Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, you posted it up in the Discord chat, but maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of the the short play on. Is it The Verge? It might be The Verge.
Oh, I don't
yeah,
remember. Was it Polygon?
No, it wasn't Polygon. Maybe it's Polygon.
We
It could
talked
be.
about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Again,
I read it today. And I don't know which one's
That's
whichever
fine.
one that isn't
So
blocked
anyway,
by the work
What
internet.
about this
But yeah,
game, Ben?
yeah,
it is The Verge, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
So, I thought that this was a sort of, it's a very short experience, but it's a very odd experience. It's a game where you're a being and you're traveling around in taxis, and it's a dialogue driven system where you basically converse with the taxi driver, and you have to kind of
Had a
uncover.
full taxi?
Well, there's no pigeons, and there's no dating. But yeah, as this being, you're kind of trying to recount your memories, recount your history through kind of events that have happened, items that you've had, and using the taxi drivers as kind of springboards to try and remember different things. It's really interesting way of kind of telling a story. It's I think the closest thing that I thought I was playing was like the Subsurface games, having those different dialogue interactions and working through them.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is a little more kind of like finding the critical path, basically, to get to the end of your journey. So a lot of times you can loop back around on the same conversations, and you may then have 3 different outcomes, and you've clicked sort of response number 1, and that hasn't gone any further. So you click response number 2, and there's not it's not a easily identifiable route, let's say. And I thought it was kind of
you're not just like finding a branching path, like just quickly figuring out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, it took about an hour roughly. Were you about the same, Lucy? Was it a little bit quicker, maybe?
I understood what path it wanted me to go down to like see the end, but I was interested in getting like all the different like dialogue choices, seeing like every single one, like like in like I don't know, a LucasArts game, you would like go through every single like dialogue thing just to get a bit of comedy, whereas in this, it's like to give more context to this character who is, as you say, some unnamed being who just seems to be meandering, sort of like they don't seem to have a purpose at the beginning, but then the more you play, you find out, oh, they are getting in all these different taxis because they, the taxi drivers are like a conduit to evoking their past memories and stuff like that. So it took me, but overall it took me about probably just over an hour. And
it's one of those that I think if you're you could do it quicker, as you said, Lucy. You wanted to explore those different paths and get that context. I think you could play this experience quicker than that. But it's not necessarily. It is about that journey. As is taking those taxis, as it is for the character, it is for yourself. Like taking that journey, understanding the story, kind of empathizing a little bit with this being and kind of what they've been through, all through these different conversations that they're having with taxi drivers. And it was very it was pleasant rather than satisfying when I got to the end of it. I wasn't like, right, yes, I've done it. I was actually like, okay, that's it's nice. I'm glad I've seen this through, and I have.
It was a nice bit of closure.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
A very interesting descriptor.
I think as a philosophy man, as yourself, you might find a bit of interest in it. But I enjoyed it because I mean, the developer obviously had I wouldn't say interest in Japanese culture. That's a very broad statement, but like just small little tidbits of like things they were obviously interested in. And it was interesting in finding out about stuff like in Japanese history and Japanese like shall we say horticultural culture. I don't know. That I was just like, yeah, like how I didn't know about these things. It was just interesting to learn about that as well. So
interesting.
Like, yeah, so developer obviously had a goal, and like I think it's well written, and those things came across really interesting. It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, maybe it was just me not knowing about these things and being ignorant to it, but it was interesting just to, games that teach by interesting ways, like sort of like Valiant Hearts is like, oh, you're not beaten over the head with a textbook about World War One, but we're giving you interesting like gameplay mechanics. Not so much in this game, but we're giving you interesting like presenting that information in an interesting way that will keep you in that loop. So yeah, I enjoyed that part of it, and I really liked how like these conversations do keep looping. So it's a graphic novel, so to speak, so you want to go through all those different dialogue branches, and usually like in other games, if you want to see like all the different branches, you'd have to start again, whereas if you like start talking about one thing and it's like, oh, I've already been through this conversation, depending on the choice that you pick, it'll just really naturally like go into something else, even though you might have seen that before. So I think developer probably done like quite a decent job of like programming like all these different passes of information so that they still like flow naturally into one another, even if they're out of sequence and stuff like that. So that was nice.
Absolutely. And you can start up. You can get to say one point, but have started up say 2 or 3 different at different points. Different openings to different conversations, but they still loop around, as you say, Lucy, to those. And it does a really good job of trying to push you in the right direction. There are some visual kind of like signifiers that you are going in the right direction. At one point, it even the conversation moved in a way that very naturally, but that I should be looking for that. That visual signifier is like follow, the leaves essentially, and you're sort of like, okay, I can understand. All right, I've seen that. I know what it's talking about. I can understand sort of what I've got to do, and so it allowed you to sort of explore and know where you were going a little bit, so that again you weren't just sort of stumbling around.
So it gives guidance, but without making it feel super forced, just by the sort of nature of the way it communicates information and stuff.
Yeah, it just drops you into the game. There's no exposition. There's no like opening cutscene or anything like that. And so it just, and that's a testament to the quality and strength of its writing that it's able to do that. And just from a presentation standpoint, I think it was a really nice looking game. Like it's very minimalist. It's like this very dark, almost Blade Runner-y at night kind of scene, but you're not really seeing much of the town amongst around you. It's just mostly just this taxi like driving through like streets at night, and you see like odd bit of neon when you stop at like the nearest stop when you get out the taxi and move on to the next one. So it's really nice, small, compact, but well presented little thing. So it was a good hour.
Yeah, and I've jumped on their page. The developer is Space Backyard, which I would never have remembered had I not just looked it up. There's no way I would remember that. As you were when we were saying the developer, I'm like trying to rack my mind about what it was. But I think it was an interesting. So I played this in like 2 sittings.
Me too.
Because when the first time I played, I didn't realise I didn't really have enough time to kind of see it through, and I'd kind of in that first sitting I'd kind of gained an understanding of what was what I needed to do. So actually when I went back in on my second sitting, I found that it was quite swift to get back to kind of like the point that I'd left it on, and that I kind of knew where I was already. It only took maybe 5 minutes to get to that point in the dialogue and unearth a few things. So it's again, if you know kind of where you're going, it's very easy to kind of get to the destination.
Yeah,
but
I'd go in not knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it is all about the journey, definitely.
Yeah, and it's on. I don't know if you mentioned that it's free on itch.io.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely free.
It's
crazy how these things are just free, and it's like, oh my god.
I can play itch.io games.
It does pop up. I think just before I actually download it, it does pop up saying, would you like to contribute something? And I thought, well, not at the moment. I've not played it. I'll see what it's like. And actually, it's one of those where I think I would go back and I'd give a contribution back to the developer.
I might do that one day. Like there's so many that I've played on itch.io. It's like I put them all in like a collection. You can have like your own library and stuff like that. I might just go through the best ones. And it's like, you know what, I really enjoy that.
Send them like a quick.
Win a bet on Sky Bet or something like that. I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna spread these around these cool games.
Absolutely. I mean, I know I brought like Red Strings Club, but I should definitely give Deconstruct Team some more money based on sort of the 2, 3, 4 experiences through itch.io that I've been able to get for free from them. Especially with something like what was it called? Behind Every Great One. Which really fucking hit me, resonated with me. So yeah, I should definitely go back into my library and be like, I've got 10 quid. Let's share this between 2 developers or 3 developers, sort of see what I've been able to pick from it. And like itch.io is such a good resource to find little experiences and emerging developers and things. So
it's fantastic, and I think there's a really good revenue split. Like everyone talks about Epic versus Steam. I think itch.io, they're probably just there doing their thing. It's like, you know what, we're actually the best. Screw those two.
More than likely.
Yeah, I think they've got a pretty decent revenue split, which is good. Because a lot of these small, just downloadable games, unless devs want to put it up on their own website, which is still time to build their own website, they can just be like, put it on itch and get a bit of money from it. So.
I think if itch was around and as prominent, like say 3 years ago, something like Hot probably have had its like demo, first few levels, etc. on itch, and that would have been. I mean, they actually had a really good sort of Kickstarter-y pre-release sort of movement, such that people like me who did it, like they've still given parts to. So like the first time they re-released or released a new game where I didn't get a free code was Super Hot on Switch, like original Super Hot on Switch. Everything else, like Super PC release, then there was a console release, then there was the VR. Then there was the broader VR, because it was Oculus first and then Vive. I got a free code for all of those things based on pledging on their initial Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then now they're like, it's on Switch. We're not giving it away. I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
That's probably
7 million times. But like, except for people like them, I think if you're slightly smaller but want that same sort of access, something like itch is exactly what you need, right? Because you get that concentration of people willing to pay attention to you, and
absolutely. And as a user, it's very easy to curate different experiences as well. And
it's probably one of the best like search search tools on like a video games store.
Yeah.
Yeah, like can tag it by like, oh, I want it to be free, I want it to be 2D, I want it to be pixel art, I want it to be puzzle game, I want it to be visual novel. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
People get on itch and talk about
Absolutely.
it.
I would imagine
really
that some of the people we're currently channeling to that are listening to us are already users or know of its existence, I would imagine. So we're only preaching to the choir, really. But if you're a new listener and you haven't been to itch.io, go there and look at all the excellent experiences. Aadil, how you doing for a beer?
Polished it.
Pulling it across.
Yep.
Nice.
You?
I know. I'm ready as well. I know. I sort of said, that the New England IPA from Brewdog and Cloudwater was a little bit harsh, perhaps. That bitterness and that carbonation kind of gives this harshness to it as soon as you drink it. It has mellowed a little bit, but everything has mellowed.
Right.
So it wasn't that initial taste or the initial
hit
I
mine,
got disappeared and more stuff came through. So.
Yeah. For mine, it wasn't harsh, but so even though it was like overtly carbonated, such that even my subsequent pours were still like more bubbles than not. The actual drinking of like actual quaffing it wasn't super carbonated, and that's kind of what I like about it was that it was the sort of on the tin softness, like it was New England IPA that sort of had those moments, but had them in a subtlety version, which I didn't expect, given obviously my slightly inebriated pour didn't help. But I thought it was gonna be sort of more in my face, and it wasn't. And I kind of feel like the NEPA used to be. I mean, I gotta stop calling it NEPA because then when I need to say the things, I don't remember what it stands for, as I proved earlier. But like, the NEPA used to be a sort of nuanced, strong note like IPA, and I feel like there's enough variety now that I'm not sure what it means, except like there's a couple of hops that sort of make sense, but it seems like it's just what it means is it's not a like juice bomb or a fucking hop bitter bomb IPA. But other than that, I've seen enough NEPAs that they just are doing incredibly different things, and I don't really know what it means except not in your face strong. But that's not a varietal thing. Like I feel like there's almost too much variety in what counts as New England IPA. Like I don't think it's consistency in hops. I don't think it's consistency in strength. It's consistency of like not punch you in the face flavor. But other than that, I've seen kind of too many different interpretations of it that I don't really know what it means, except I'm not punching in the face. But that might as well just be called a weak IPA at that point. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm missing a nuance there, but I don't see the specifics of the region anymore in this, like the breadth of the variety. It kind of seems like it's just saying, I want to say I have a nuanced IPA, so I'll just say NEPA.
Well, I think we need to go to New England then on a trip.
I agree.
That's a good idea.
Tanked up field trip.
Tanked up on tour.
I also have a very special beer from a couple of weeks ago. I think probably almost a month. It's the Cloudwater Creature Conference crossover. Yeah. It is the 13th and final beer in a series designed to celebrate their first festival, Friends and Family Beer. We've talked at length about that.
Yeah.
Creature Comforts are renowned for both finely balanced interpretations of classic styles and elegant barrel-aged beers, so we brewed a mixed fermentation lager using a Bière de Garde yeast alongside a traditional lager strain for an unusual fruity flavor and profile. A portion of this beer has also been put into wine barrels for later release. The aroma and flavor are mandarin, apricot, and peach, followed by brown bread and raisin. The body is medium-bodied with a crisp, dry finish, and the aftertaste is lasting totes of biscuity, malty, and herbal bitterness. It is a 6.6% 440 ml beer, which even though they say they're doing it lager style, I figured it's stronger the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it's literally the last of that collab, and I got it. Of course, caught him, and I'm like, I'm sure it'll last in the fridge because I wanted to get through the Viennese beers from our friend Michael, but was like, well, this will be there later, and this entire series is over, so I'll just let this sit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair. Was it a lager or an IPL?
So this is the thing. They don't tell us what I mean, they just say that it's a mixed fermentation lager, and they use different lager strains. I assume it's a lager, 0.6%. That's interesting because lagers usually don't sort of strain that high, and also for Cloudwater to have their last collaboration be a lager is kind of an interesting statement. But yeah, this is again why I was like, cool. I will definitely sort of sit on this beer so we can properly take a look at it.
Yeah, I read an article today about
darker than a lager.
Yeah, that was like a
brown beer, but I mean, you can see how bubbly it is. Like it's got the carbonation of.
Yeah.
Beer Bigard.
You poor Lucy. What did you read about?
Yeah, just how like I read an article today because I wanted to do something at work other than work. Just how like it just a lot of breweries are reverting back to like simple beers now, just lagers. And,
really?
Yeah. Like, so we've done IPAs to death now. Let's just go back to the good old simple lagers.
Was that do you think that's been a seasonal thing? Like over the summer? Seeing a lot more sort of, I definitely see an uptick in IPLs. Definitely. I don't think that's something that we had a huge amount of last year, even sort of last summer. But is that kind of, I mean, lager always sort of screams spring, summer, doesn't it, really?
I think it was just saying how it's more of a cultural shift. Like, hops are becoming more expensive. There's more breweries. Like, why don't we just do simple things that ain't gonna break the bank by getting like the newest, latest hops and getting those contracts in and, bending over trying to find like new contracts and just, go back to the simple thing. Like, that might even introduce more people into the craft beer scene and just drag them away from these, corporations which are buying craft breweries. And then, it was an interesting article. I'll send it over. I think it was.
Definitely.
I can't remember what it was called. I think the article itself was called "The Rise of Regular Beer." I think it was on something called Octo.com.
Sounds yeasty.
October.com or something like that.
Share it in the beer chat on our Out of Lives Discord.
Which our viewers and fans can join if they so choose. But we don't have a good link to it now that I think about the website. Message us, we'll send you a link. I'm the worst.
I'll find it. I'll sort it out. I'll put it in the description of the podcast in some way that can be copied and pasted.
Oh my god.
Done,
I mean, no, there's definitely a link. I'm just saying it's not really... Whatever. I'm derailing things. That sounds interesting.
Inside and Celeste are like the free games on the Epic Games Store.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
just kicked in today. Yeah.
To be fair, everyone owns these games though, and if you don't, shame on you.
I mean,
you deserve the crappy Epic Game Store if you don't own those.
I'm probably going to play Inside again. I don't think it's been that long since Celeste, so
I played it on Switch.
I mean, I think you need to play it.
There's more stuff for Celeste coming, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah,
there's like a new chapter.
Wasn't that Thornton?
I thought they said there was something stupid like 100 levels, or like maybe not that, but like they said there was like quite a big expansion.
I remember now. I'd buy the hell out of that. Best game that came out last year.
It was fucking amazing. So good.
Yeah.
Still haven't finished
You
it.
can have your Red Deads and all that crap, but
100. No, I'm right. It's 100 new levels. I wasn't lying.
Oh, they announced that like earlier this year, didn't they?
June.
Like, was it June? Oh right, I thought it was like on the anniversary. Okay, well that's cool.
Everyone's gonna play Celeste again. So, what would have been a good segue as well?
Why would you want to play Celeste on like a computer?
Hey,
Mate,
shut up. That's how I play it.
Just plug a pad in, mate. It won't matter.
Yeah, I know, but it's still disgusting. It
You're
still weirds
disgusting.
me out. You know, it still weirds me out.
I haven't finished it.
Like
I'm
playing
5
platform.
levels in.
I remember when I
I'm
played.
bad at video games and bad at playing video games.
I remember when I played that. It's like a really tough puzzle platformer as well. Called 140.
Oh, I
the
remember
digits
140.
Yeah, I played that on just like WASD, and I
Oh god,
disgusted by it.
I was gonna say that's not a game you want to WASD. That's a game
And I
you
did.
definitely don't
And
want to WASD.
I completed it on
I like how
WASD. Yeah. And I
Lucy's
that's
just
my
so
hidden
badass
shame.
at video games.
PC
She's
Master
like,
Race, mate.
she's like, I'm gonna mock this platform. How I'm gonna mock this is by saying, even this game was really tough, but I managed to do it on the shitty input mechanism. But like, I know that's not what you meant, but like functionally, that's what you said. You're like, yeah, it shouldn't have ever been on this because it's stupid. But also, I did it.
Yeah.
I'm good at.
Did you do it with one hand and just a
platform.
middle
Yeah.
finger up continuously as you played towards the screen? Just don't even need to look at the keyboard at all.
Yeah.
Just fucking.
Yeah.
So, my beer,
Good game.
the second beer of this week, as Lucy mentioned, breweries that had been bought by larger corporations. I'm drinking a beer from Fourpure Brewing Company, but
I haven't seen a Fourpure in a week. What? Oh, wait,
well, this is
wow.
it's another a while. This is another collaboration beer that was in Tesco, but the reason I picked this up was because it's a collaboration with Mothership.
Oh.
And Mothership are a very, very small emerging brewery who, Lucy, you and I had some really good beers from at the Bristol Craft Beer Festival. Big on the social medias, see them a lot on there. Don't see their cans around very much, at least the few places I've been in Bristol. But this says, as with Fuel Pure, you've got all of the information along the side of the can. It is 7.4%. I think it's a double IPA. It is a double IPA. 7.4%. It is 16.5 degrees Plato as the original gravity, 65 IBUs, 12 EBCs, 280 calories, and should be served at 8 degrees.
As well, no.
I think it's well, whatever. I assume CAL is calories. Let's have a look. Some of the greatest adventures start in the most unexpected ways. Take Helen Sharman, for example. She became the first Brit in space thanks to answering an advert that simply stated, "Astronaut wanted, no experience necessary." This collaboration with Mothership aims to celebrate pioneering women like Helen and blast you to the furthest reaches of flavour. Liberally hopped with Enigma and Eldorado, this double IPA showcases all that is good about dank and juicy IPAs and promises to boldly take you where no man has gone before. I mean, I'd probably have said a little bit more about Mothership rather than some random woman, but, you know, fair enough. Not to criticise the sex in any way whatsoever, but, you know. Let's get this one point. It does, however, have
on Twitter.
It does have a very reminiscent of Beavertown style can and artwork.
Oh yeah! Wow. If I saw that on a shelf, I'd be like, pass me the orange thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that poured, and we're gonna come back to you, Aadil, on the beer that you have already begun.
I've been supping. Yeah. Again, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, it is brown as fuck. And it's not what they sort of they said barrel aged, but they said a lot of lagery things. It's not too heady. The pour was kind of carbonated. A mild nutty.
It looks malty as hell.
Sorry?
It looks malty as hell.
Oh yeah, it's like a mild nut, and then quite a bit of malts on the nose. But like, almost, like quite a bit of malts in the sense of like most of the nose is malty and a bit nutty.
Okay.
But the nose is actually not super strong. I don't want to say it's like smacking the face with maltiness. It's just of the smell, it's mostly malty.
Okay, but it's light.
Yeah, I mean it's malty, Actually, I think this is the yeast, but you get this sort of multi-start, and then it sort of fades to almost like an aspartame type dryness.
Okay.
And then it just sort of, after that fades, it's like sweetness, which I think is just the 6% with a touch of malt.
Yeah.
But like, I'm super surprised that the taste fades really quickly. Like, I'm talking sub 15 seconds. You're going through all hits of the the primary taste to the finish to like the lingering.
Does it have any like vinous like taste, like
Not even
wine?
like it's not winey. It's like just mildly bitter. Mostly kind of sweet throughout. The sweetness sort of has a curve, which allows other things to come out. But at the end of the day, the sweetness that you sort of taste post finish, like the lingering sweetness, is kind of the same type of sweetness you got off the beginning of the taste. So I don't think it's doing a lot else. It just sort of has these flashes of other things, but it's kind of just like I've got a generic malty sweetness that sort of quite forward, such that when other things happen, they overtake it, but as soon as they're done overtaking, I come back to this default. Does that make sense? Like, it's just kind of like, okay, it's got this one move, and there's other moves that sort of jump in and then jump out, but that one move just is the standard. Versus other beers where it's like, there's a sweetness at the beginning, which is sort of super fruity, and there's a sweetness at the end that's super malty, and it's clearly doing a different thing between them. This is like, no, whatever you thought you tasted at the beginning is kind of what you're tasting at the end, but there's interesting moves afterwards and before, but it's still the same generic move.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it feels like complex but straightforward sweetness. Like there's like a dynamic to the maltness that's interesting. It happens right away, but it's also the only thing that happens at the end. So it's not like it's simple, but the nuance isn't across the taste profile. It's the same nuance that you sort of experience from slightly different perspectives, given the like splash of slightly tropical, then disappearing, etc.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think my beer is similar in that it's not really kind of what they've suggested it is, or at least that's not what I'm getting from it. It said it was a dank, juicy, or double IPA that showcases all that is good about dank and juicy IPAs, and promises to boldly take you where no man has gone before. I mean, I've definitely had this beer, or at least this flavour profile, before. It's a little bit of orange on the nose, and a little bit of that malt creeping in as well. Almost a slight kind of burnt texture, or a burnt sort of nose and flavour to it as well. And the flavour kind of mimics the nose quite well. That I'm getting a lot of, not a lot, it's a light flavour again. It's not a big flavour. I'm getting orange from it. The malts do kick in, but there is this slight kind of almost burnt element to it. It's kind of like almost like a burnt biscuity kind of flavour that I'm getting, following on from that orange. It does have a little bit of dankness towards the end, definitely. You know, it's nowhere near as dank as the was the dry and bitter Verdant collab that I had last week. That was a dank beer, and a beautifully dank beer as well. This kind of just has a little bit hanging around. It's not quite that lovely sort of dank, weedy kind of essence to it. It's just a little bit, you know, when you walk into, rather than it being a bit weedy, you walk into an old building and it's got a little bit of sort of damp to it, and you can kind of smell that as you walk in.
Yes, mold and BO.
Yeah.
Mildew.
This is more that end of dank, if you know what I mean. It's just a little bit kind of like, I see maybe what you're trying to get out of this, but I don't think it's quite there.
Suboptimal.
I mean, it's all it's all super light, so it goes back very easily. The flavour's there. The orange sticks around for a little bit. That burnt biscuit kind of just backs the orange up. It heightens the orange a little bit, perhaps. That when that kicks in, you feel the orange just that little bit more. And then that dankness, it just lingers a bit too long. Never really turns into any kind of bitterness at all, which is why it's kind of more down that sort of end. Nothing really comes from it. It kind of just peters out a little bit. And I'm hoping some of this is from the previous beer. From it being the previous beer, so being so carbonated and so bitter that it's just altering this flavour profile very slightly. That maybe towards the end I'm going to get something a little bit more rounded, perhaps. But currently, again, initial impressions is just sort of an attempt at a double IPA. I mean, it's only about 7.5%, 7.4. I mean, is it a double IPA really? Lucy, what have you been doing this week?
Working, mate, working. I played a game.
Yeah.
It was the kind of game where it's like needs very little imp, so it was very easy to play whilst working too much. It's called Telling Lies. It is. I guess it's not his sophomore game because he did do that War Games thing. But maybe sophomore in this style, I guess. Anyway, it's Sam Barlow's, shall we say, spiritual successor to her story, using that same narrative twist that kind of subverts like a narrative detective game. If you haven't played her story, what are you doing? Go play it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do it immediately.
Any one of us won't not recommend it.
Yeah. I'm not going to go.
Played it, loved it.
Yes, it's excellent. 2015, I think it came out. Jeez. That was a while ago. Anyway.
We're all young.
Yes, we are. We're not dying slowly. Anyway.
We are, but that's not why we need to recommend it.
I won't go into specifics about her story or Telling Lies because they are very much heavily based on narrative. But Telling Lies, it takes the same format as her story, where you are searching through a database on a virtual desktop, and you're searching with keywords, and once you type in a keyword, every video that mentions that word. So in Telling Lies, the first word that is put in for you automatically by the game is love. So it then searches through the database of all these video clips, and it takes those clips that mention the word love. The things that it only displays the first 5 results. So even though love might be mentioned in 20 of the clips in this database, only the first 5 search results are available to you. So the whole loop of the game is then looking into these videos and then picking up certain nouns, certain names, certain places, and then being like, oh, that person mentioned that person mentioned that place, this happened over there, this person calls this person by this colloquial name, and then mostly picking up those nouns and then searching again and finding more information and just slowly but surely uncovering a deeper mystery, which I will not go into. I will not spoil. It's very hard to talk around this game, so I will just talk in broad strokes. In terms, it's very mechanically similar to her story, so I'm sure most people would play that by now. It's the same deal. The difference is that was, I mean, you'd know this straight from the get-go in her story. That's about a murder mystery. Your reason through looking at this database and Telling Lies, it's far more you don't know why you're doing it. It's like in her story, it's a murder mystery. You know why you're there. You need to figure out the murder and how this person got murdered. And that's pretty obvious. With Telling Lies, the
Inciting is questionable.
Yeah, the reason why you're looking at these tapes, the purpose of like, at the start of the game, you're playing as this woman. She walks into a building, and it's like, okay, she's got access to these files from the NSA, and it's like, okay, what is this woman's motive? Why is she looking through all these files? What are we trying to figure out? What is the overall arching mystery?
Right. So they play the game of like, you're this character, but you don't know what the character does.
Yeah.
You have to kind of do your own digging to figure out what the character's doing. So
who you are. Yeah.
Which I really like, and I think it's a plain move. So often in video games, it's like they give you godlike access to the main character's mind, and then it's just like, what can the main character find out? And it's so much more interesting when you're like, when they make it explicit that you're piloting someone, and as the pilot, you might not know all the things of someone else, because that gives you like a second layer of epistemic sort of veil. Like it's so much more interesting, because then you get to play the game against the game as well as the game against the characters, for lack of a better like there's the initial layer of, well, I'm the character, what can I figure out from other people, but also shit, I need to figure out what the main character, like I'm also playing the game against a protagonist to figure out X.
Yeah. So yeah, that is because that's not I'm saying anything about her story, but it's like you don't know who you are. And
mate, her story's like 4 years old now, so I think we can.
But it's still like you know. I can't
the problem
say
there is that,
but
like,
just finding out who
played it. No one wants to spoil it for you because it's really well done.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like the same thing with a really good mystery novel, mystery movie. Like, who cares how long it's been? I don't want to spoil how it works because I kind of want people to do that now.
Yeah. It's just
her
that
story is a really good example of the extreme of that, which is, sure, most people who are interested will miss out, but if you missed it, I don't want. This is amazing, but also here's why you will have a good interpretation of why it's amazing, because I've ruined it for you.
Yeah, so I won't mention it. But going into more of the mechanics of telling lies, whereas her story, you're looking at police tapes and this woman's like confessing and stuff like that, and just recounting what happened, you know, giving alibis and stuff like that. Telling lies is just it's more voyeuristic. This, you know, these characters did not give consent to have all these, you know, videos and footage watched. It's stuff like intimate conversations with like a man and his daughter, or you know, a couple talking together, or just friends talking together and stuff like that. It's seen from a much more personal view. It's like, it's FaceTime calls and stuff like that. I don't. A lot of these people FaceTime. I don't know who actually FaceTimes in real life, but or even talks to people on the phone in real life. But
Ben FaceTimes with his clients.
We're doing it right now.
Yes, but it's like,
we're Discording. Come on.
Yeah. But this
took extra effort. FaceTime is like, and we were like, oh, this doesn't
let's
work.
figure this out. Yeah, after an hour, do technical. Yeah. Anyway,
Mostly me. Mostly my fault. That's fine.
But what's interesting about it is that each clip you only see it from the side of one character. So
that's really cool.
There's a conversation. So say if like me and Aadil was talking, and on one video clip you'd hear me talking, and that's it. It would just be.
Oh, you don't get both sides of the conversation either.
So you have to uncover the.
Yeah. So and it's
that makes me
really
super more useful.
Yeah, it's really cleverly done. So it's like Aadil, you'd be like talking about this beer that you had whilst you were in Canada, and then I'd make like a stupid maple syrup joke or something like that, and it's like on one side it'd be like, oh, they're talking about Canada for sure. Oh my god. So you might see my video first, and make a maple syrup joke, and then you're like, "Oh, should I search for maple syrup or should I search for Canada?" And then you'd search for Canada, and you'd pull up Aadil's video.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, like piecing together like two parts of the puzzle and finding the corresponding videos.
It's nice that it's got that kind of like that next step to her story as well. You have to kind of it's not just kind of like, okay, I've got to find all of these different snippets from this interview and piece those together. It's now there's so many different interactions with different people. Who are they actually talking to? What are they doing? Is something else going on whilst they're kind of doing stuff? And that's a very cool direction to take it in.
That's why this game is so brilliant from like a technical level, even though it's like very similar, simple mechanics.
Yeah, right. But it's
just
how they're
masterful, like how it's done from like a scripting point of view and an acting point of view. Because even when I didn't find like the corresponding videos till like hours later, I would still remember that conversation, just the other half of the conversation, because of how good the acting is. I don't know any of these actors because I don't watch films, but apparently they've been.
Tom Hardy's in it.
I would be surprised.
Yes. No, but there's guys similar.
Tom Hardy lookalike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 5 out of 5.
I mean, I think that's the point, though, right? Like, I think it showcases what a good script and good actors can do, but also a good actor isn't someone who's in all films. A good actor is much less, but also much more than that. Like you have good direction and good writing, and you're a good actor.
Yeah,
the thing will be good. But what makes you a good actor in Hollywood isn't those things. So like, this is kind of a good reminder of how much of a machine these other things are, because a lot of some premiere video games sort of are playing off of the same premiere film moves that don't get you to the same place, which is, I don't care who you are, I don't care who's directing you, I care about the setting, because this is a video game and your face is like the least important thing. While in like film, I hate to break it to you, but the face is super important, and that's why you don't have no names starring in really big films, because that's the way it is. But like, we definitely have hit a point in video games where they have such cultural cachet that's very easy for video game directors to fall into the film director trap, and I don't think it works the same way. And these types of games prove that like interaction and like prompting the notion of interaction is way more important than your flat face, because your flat face could be turned purple and whatever, and becomes just like, Josh Brolin didn't need to be Thanos. Anyone could have been Thanos. Like, for a lot of those scenes, it didn't matter. For some of them, yeah, sure, you're cloning his like interesting acting moves, but a lot of them you aren't. And video games are that to the nth degree.
Yeah, like people who haven't played her story or haven't seen this game, it is full FMV, full motion video. So these are real actors, and it's real life human people that you see. But yeah, the just reading like pre-release stuff, with interviews with Sam Barlow, I think that what they did was like actually put these actors in different rooms and did set up that like FaceTime chat, so
that's cool.
The dialogue is natural, it does flow well.
It's just literally what they're saying.
Yeah, they've just recorded the screen as they've been acting it out as such. It
wasn't like a voice recording thing where it's like, oh, we have this one actor in the booth having half of this side of the conversation, then we get the next actor 2 weeks later to record their lines. So yeah, it's the thing I will say is that I was not nearly as interested in the narrative in this game, and that's where this game like just falls down for me completely. Like, the characters I was interested in, and it's like, oh, you like learning about their different interconnecting relationships and stuff like that, but I think the overall story is not that good.
Okay, fair enough.
I won't say too much about it, but whereas in her story, I mean, her story was novel and fresh, and her story wasn't like the most down to earth story. There was like some things where it's like, oh yeah, this is, yeah, you know, it's quite a pulpy story at the end.
Absolutely,
of the day.
there was a suspension of disbelief in certain elements of that story. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like it's trying to be more grounded, but there are some massive plot holes here, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like like in her story, once you've seen a certain amount of video clips, it's basically prompts you if you want to end the game. I got to that point probably about a third of the way through the amount of time that I put into it.
Okay.
I just wanted to see more videos and stuff like that. But even so, I didn't quite realize that it was like, oh, it prompts me now because I have actually found enough where I can comprehensively put together the entire plot of this game.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that can't be right. There has to be some more because more to this because why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? So for the next 2/3 of the time I played the game, I was like, okay, these videos are great and well acted, but you're not actually filling in any more.
Okay.
You know, you're not answering any questions. You're actually just creating even more plot holes.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I mean, that happens.
Do you think that having do you think if you spent enough time with it that you would get that fully rounded set of answers for everything, that they really have a tight kind of script, and that they have tried to do enough to answer sort of everything that kind of comes up? Or are they allowing things to be a bit ambiguous and you not really getting the entire picture?
I don't think so. I think it's more like debatable. Her story was left up to interpretation at the end, but this is like, no, we had this story, and this was the plot. The plot's just not that good, you know. It doesn't like. I think it's more interesting finding out the relation to these characters, because once you're like, oh, is that what happened? Cool,
right,
great. There's nothing like, because this is more like, you know. Well, I guess they're both like sort of crime thrillers. That's like a murder mystery. This is more wider scope government conspiracy thing.
The moves are less about what a person might do versus like what their character's slot is. Does that make sense? So like, as soon as you're like, okay, this is the reveal. This person slots in this way. It's not sort of it's not predicated on them being surprising in a certain way. The surprise is, oh, there were secretly X. Not, they were Y, but they did X.
I mean, I think that would go too much into spoiler territory if I expanded on.
You're right. Yep.
No, it's fine. But yeah, because I don't want to get too much into it. It fell down in narrative for me, but I'd love to have just seen like the script, like written. I think there was like, you know, hundreds of pages worth of script for this game. I'd love just to see like, yay, cameo. I'd love to see. Oh, and Kim was just off camera. We could have had the triple whammy as well. But I'd love to see just like the script and how it was written, and like obviously the way the characters speak. They only want to give like tidbits of information because you only seen it from, you know, half of the perspective. So from a technical standpoint, I think this is, you know, masterstroke in like how to create mystery. I just wish the overall mystery was better and didn't have too many plot holes. Because afterwards I looked, you know, on Reddit or like Giant Bomb forums or whatever, or Steam, and it's like, I wasn't missing. It's like, okay, I wasn't missing anything. It's like, no, there are just some really it's disappointing.
It's fair enough. Okay, well, it's probably a good place to finish the chat on Telling Lies.
Still worth it. Get it on iPad. It might be on Android if you can.
So I mean,
like
£10. What I kind of like about we've gotten to a point of technology that these types of FMV games used to be like so obscurely like too far forward, and now it's like actually this is like the easiest game to push on all the platforms because streaming is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
You're not streaming anything; it's downloading all those video files.
Sorry, I just mean like the move of getting the video content to the device.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 gig on my.
But like, even 3 years ago, you couldn't think about pushing this type of narrative to a multi-platform thing. Like, it would have had to be PC, maybe really awkwardly like Xbox, PlayStation, but not really. But also, no one would have wanted that. And it's like, actually, the sweet spot is probably people with like a 5+ inch cell phone. Like, like that's enough for you to like look at details, etc. As long as you have the bandwidth, that'll obviously iPads and etc. are ideal. But like, as long as you have kind of an oversized phone, you can play this game well. You can play this type of game well.
Quick aside. It's improved on Her Story by you can pause like the video at any point, and because it's all subtitled unless you want to change that off, but by default it's on subtitles. If you just click on a particular word, it can then just go to a search that word straight automatically, and bring up the next search results for that.
Nice. Okay, that's
keyword.
good.
I never used it, but that's one way of doing it. The way it's gone back from Her Story, however, is when you want to scrub through videos, because when you search for a keyword, it actually the video searches that it pulls up, it'll put you at that point in the video where they actually say that word. The video. And scrubbing
a
through
video which
takes a long
mentioned
time.
it, so you can.
Yeah, it takes a long time to scrub through. Like, you have to rewind like a cassette tape. It isn't just like, oh, I just want to press a button and go back to the beginning. You can't do that, which is very annoying because some of these videos are like 8 minutes long, and it takes a long time to rewind back from 7 minutes 59 seconds all the way back to the start. So that's pretty annoying. But
interesting that they've taken that approach. With Her Story being that very VHS aesthetic.
It made kind of sense that you like had to like really push backward, but like
and again, Her Story was very much kind of when you to actually order these videos in some kind of was very difficult. You had one bar at the bottom. You're like, where does this one actually fit within the timeline that I'm creating along this single bar? Does it allow you to curate a timeline and a sequence of events a little bit better than Her Story?
Yeah, you can definitely you can add bookmarks and stuff like that, and just see what you've searched for in the past, like all the search terms you searched previously and stuff like that, and which videos you pulled up. So it's got that, but I didn't use any of that stuff, and I think just to like the most emblematic thing of how much less I enjoyed this than Her Story was that I didn't write down a single note. You can write down notes in the game, or with Her Story I had like conspiracy theory papers strewn
like
everywhere.
A web of fucking stuff.
Didn't write down a single note on this one. And that's what hurts me the most.
That sucks.
I think it's one of the things.
Story.
I think it's one of the things we loved about Obra Dinn last year. That it kind of got you to think that little bit more, that you were sat there and you were kind of, jotting notes down and trying to kind of understand where people were coming from and those different things.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
I think this may be purely subjective though. Like,
I mean, that's the name of the game. I won't worry about it.
Some people have been writing notes. I think I saw Greg Miller had like pages of notes. And
really?
Yeah, and it's like, maybe it's completely. I hope it's subjective. I hope it's like, people really get the kick out of this story and find it really interesting, whereas it just didn't, vibe with me. I hope so. Yeah, because everything around surrounding the game, the whole mechanics of it, technicality of it. Yeah, that's great. So if it hits on story, then that's like a good 10 out of 10 game for other people.
Nice.
Should be good.
Cool. So I've got a hard out of 10 o'clock this evening. which is in a few minutes. So,
yeah,
Aadil,
I think we're
do you have a topic for this evening that you may hold for another night, or one you want to discuss for me to disappear?
Play anything?
I was literally just about how in a couple articles that have come out in the more British press / internet British press. The number, so basically, the percentage of female beer drinkers in the UK is pegged at 17%, which I think is super low. I was surprised. I don't care about the context of the articles that cite this, but what I wanted to bring up, which we can easily talk about like next week. I know you have, but what I wanted to bring up was I feel like there are 3 different. So the article that sort of cited this was like, oh, it's about advertising, and I wanted to say, well, there's actually kind of 3 tiers of advertising of beer in the UK, which are really interesting because a lot of them aren't like none of them are necessarily demographically sexual, but they definitely have their own baggage. But I thought at least let's prime our listeners. We'll talk about this at some other time because we don't have time. But like, I think we have the 3 things that I think are important are generic big brand lagers, which have their problems, and I think most people agree. Like, there's usually sexist advertising, etc. But I also haven't paid attention to what that advertising is locally for a while because I just don't live in that world. But I assume it's bad, but I might be wrong. And then we have something like Camera, where Camera has been pushing against this, which is the like sort of nuts and bolts of the article that I read was Camera saying like, if you want to be a part of Camera, you can't get away with this type of advertising. No. And then you have craft beer, which I think for the most part has been pretty good. There's definitely been some outstanding naysayers to the it's good and that sucks. But what I would want us and our listeners to think about is how much of that sort of knee-jerk reaction actually is being tacked up by Camera, but also what do we think is the right type of move? And I think obviously it's not going to be a like quorum consensus thing, but it's like, okay, so it seems like I think on all 3 fronts we have an idea that what isn't good isn't good, but where the line is where we like are okay with some jocularity and not.
I was just gonna say this is a loaded topic. Not just even from from this, to do with sexism and equality and men and women drinking beers, but like just diving into British drinking culture, it's got to do with, it's got to do with.
If I'm honest, what I really wanted to be like was, from my perspective in craft brewing, and the people I know and the people I interact with online, I'm super surprised 17% is
I would be more than that.
And so what I kind of want to know is like,
what levels?
Obviously there's like big things, but like I don't know how we can do this. I'll think about it in the future, but like I want to know whether the craft brewery versus like male versus female percentage is as bad as the general beer one, because I kind of think that maybe craft is doing a better job than general, but that also might be confirmation bias. So we don't have time to go into these things. So what I'd like to do is like just sort of push on either craft brewing isn't as good as the national average, or it is, but either way we should be like pushing a certain angle.
pushing them both up to be.
Yeah, and the angle is, what if we just cared about beer and its taste, and how do we do that
which I think
without...
a lot of people who enjoy beer do, but a lot of people who have that stigma because of these social issues and
so I'd like to us
it's
to
like
connect up
talk
and
about
us with our audiences to try and figure out what we could do, and even if it's not a lot, that's fine, but like that's the homework, given that I don't have a good
homework. This is fun homework. We'll post a link to that article.
For sure.
I think it was conversation.com. If you just type in beer and sexism, that'll probably come up.
I mean, the big thing that I think we all had wasn't that it's shitty for women in the beer industry. It was actually, like, I think all three of us commented, like, oh, I thought at this point, like, beer consumption in the UK at some level was beyond 17%. And at least on this measure, it wasn't. And it was like, okay, well, we definitely know that, like, on these deeper levels, we have to do better with representation. But forget about representation. It turns out consumers just aren't there that way we think.
But as you said, I think that's probably more to do with, like, the, mass producing kind of corporations.
So I mean,
because craft is still
hang on. Yeah, I've got to go. So let's do this for homework next week. And converse about this next week.
I definitely
we're getting into this conversation
with the
now.
idea that we would have a solution, but definitely didn't stick to that. So that is the topic for next week, where all of us,
I've written it down.
Please, you can send us an email at tankedupcast@gmail.com, tweet at tankedupcast on Twitter. You can message us otherwise. Tankedupcast on Instagram if you wanted to give us a quick blah or a picture of your opinion of this conversation. But like I honestly think, like, oh, come on, it's fine. This is the type of thing that we actually want to hear back from you.
Absolutely.
And like, contact us the way you can. This is the thing where it's like, us as a beer community can maybe make a statement about what we want things to be like, even if our statement is, it definitely isn't like this, but like, we can have a forward-looking projection, and this is a thing that we could all cotton on to, and so it's worth saying what you want to hear and seeing how many people like are interested.
Absolutely, we can put forward our manifesto for how things should be going forward. So yes, I am at Nova_47 almost ever. Lucy
What was your favourite beers?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. He's
We'll
already started. He's already started.
We've already got the plugs,
mate.
We do plugs and beers and goodbye.
Juicy Loose 9. Juicy Loose 9.
Juicy Loose 9. Aadil is at the Omniarch almost everywhere except Twitch, where he's at _ in somewhere in it and things and stuff.
I grabbed the can.
For me this week, it's really hard to pick a best beer. I think neither of them kind of did what they were saying they were going to do. I don't think this is the best showing.
_47 says die in a fire.
I don't think this is the best showing for the supermarket beers from from the craft beer scene. If I was pushed to pick one,
You're shoved, then pushed.
I mean, if one of them was thrust at me before I was kicked off a cliff and I could drink it on the way down, I don't know. Give them both of them.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably pick the Brewdog versus the Cloudwater. Yes, it was a little bit more bitter. Yes, it was a little bit more carbonated. But I banged that one back. There's still a little bit left of this Fourpure. It's not going down quite as well as the Brewdog Cloudwater collaboration. Aadil.
I'm going to go in the opposite direction, where I think the Cloudwater collaboration was boring and flat and didn't give me enough.
Oh, okay.
Like, honestly, it was interesting, and as a lager, it had some interesting things that you don't normally notice with lagers, but everything else was not there. Like, It was like, as soon as I recognized that you were doing something weird with a certain type, nothing else mattered, because the only thing interesting was that it wasn't the standard type you were doing this on. So it is the Stewart Brewing Aqualung Nelson Sauvin Mosaic and Galaxy hops, 5.2% NEPA. It's again, it's not that the Cloudwater Cross Creature Comforts barrel aged lagers wasn't interesting, but it just was kind of flat. Like, it just, for what they were claiming to do, just didn't quite do a lot else. So I kind of want, like, if you're going to do just that, I kind of want you to just be really plain, and you weren't. And yeah, the other thing did more expensive things given a limited palette. They both limited palettes. It's just,
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
The water was great.
But mostly I would reach for the one over the other.
Yeah, and I felt the same way. I'd reach for the Brewdog versus Cloudwater beer over the other one, definitely. So Lucy, as the person, I was going to say, as the person who hasn't had a beer, Lucy, to finish us out, have you got anything final to say?
Mosey Craft Beer Festival's great. Go next year if you can.
Oh,
Bye.
okay. Oh, bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net